The Madman! Hunter, we're starting with Secret Plan. 3 stars. I think Secret Plan has 2 possible decks that it'll go into. The first one is, I believe it'll go into Spell Hunter. Replaces the weakest spell in Spell Hunter, which is probably Arcane Shot. Just as a nice 1 mana into 2 mana card so that you can activate your Spellstone. Secret Plan might also see play in the Subject 9 deck, which plays the Subject 9 in order to draw a bunch of secrets and then activate your Spellstone and your bow. You can use Secret Plan to get a few more. I think it's less likely in that deck though, if that deck is even any good. Next up we have Venomizer, which is one of the best magnetic mechs out there. And here's where we begin with the controversial rating, 1 star. Venomizer is clearly going to see play in Mech Hunter if Mech Hunter exists, because it is extremely solid, but I just don't see that as quite unfair enough alongside all of the other mech cards to make Hunter great. Hunter has the idea of Goblin bombs as the mech theme, but aggro mech is just not working out right now. The most aggressive cards right now are War Gear, which is a 5 mana Blessing of Kings, and Replicating Menace at 4 mana, which is only +3 attack. All of these mech cards in general are low statted, don't do enough for their cost, and are generally low attack, high health. That is not going to make an aggressive Hunter deck work with this mech. And the Goblin bombs are all overcosted for what they do. It's just not worth it. I looked through a lot of Hunter mech decks, and none of them worked. Goblin bomb theme, no Goblin bomb theme. Doubling your Death Rattle theme for the Goblin bombs. It all looked really bad. That said, if Mech Hunter is good, I expect to see Venomizer be played in pretty much all the Mech Hunter decks. Fireworks Tech, 2 stars. I think Fireworks Tech is better than Venomizer. So for that reason, I think Fireworks Tech will see some experimentation, more experimentation than Venomizer, before it is discarded, because once again, I think that Mech Hunter is not good enough. This card is fantastic in Mech Hunter. Absolutely great. One of the best starts you can get as Hunter is going to be turn 1 Mecharoo, turn 2 Fireworks Tech, basically 2 mana 4/3 worth of stats, some of which has charge because you put it on your Mecharoo. But that's about the extent, and you have to really high roll getting that Mecharoo and then the Fireworks Tech. It's just not going to be consistent enough. It's going to feel kind of like Dire Maul and the Crackling Razor Maul, which was great, but it didn't make mid-range Hunter good because it's not consistent enough. Of course, activates Goblin Bombs and Spider Bomb, but I'm just not seeing it. Goblin Prank! It's just a prank, bro! 1 star! It's certainly no power overwhelming. 2 mana for +3 attack, basically, since the health doesn't really matter. And the rush, that's just not quite good enough. And it dying at the end of the turn, like, that's generally a downside, and I was not able to find a way that makes it an upside. Some people are thinking about running Goblin Bombs with the Goblin Prank. It activates the Goblin Bomb. You can summon a card which summons the Goblin Bomb and then immediately prank the bomb, but that does not look good in terms of stat cost analysis. If you're using this on Devilsaur Egg, it's just so much inferior to Play Dead and Terrascale Stalker, since you lose the egg, and the egg is a real threat because you could Play Dead or Terrascale Stalker it. And if you're doing it with an egg, that is only 5 mana for a 5/5 and deal 3 damage. So Prank could be thought of as a 3rd copy of Play Dead, but it is just inferior. Cybertech Chip, 1 star. Infest was really far off of playable, and I thought about Cybertech Chip and whether or not Cybertech chipping your Unleash the Hounds was worth it, and it's just too specific. I do think that this card is decent if you manage to hit 2 things with it, but hitting 2 things with Cybertech Chip is going to be pretty tough. Also, given how lowly I'm going to rank most of the mechs, the random mech cards are not very good. Bomb Toss, 1 star. It seems like a pretty decent Goblin Bomb enabler. People are even thinking about, wow, maybe I should put this in the Spell Hunter to replace Arcane Shot, because it's still dealing the 2 damage and you're putting a 0/2 Goblin Bomb. But here's the thing, this packaging of +1 mana and a 0/2 Goblin Bomb just isn't worth it. You do, I completely understand that you try to make the Goblin Bombs work in Hunter by magnetizing them, and yes, Hunter has some pretty good magnetized cards, but the Goblin Bomb cards are just so poor that they are not going to be efficient enough. Instead of dealing the extra 2 damage, you just try to go for the extra stat point in what it will be normally mid-range Hunter instead, and then you deal your extra 1 or 2 points of damage that way with stronger minions rather than with these mech minions. Spider Bomb, fantastic mech card for Hunter. 2 stars. I feel like this card will not actually see play, and it's only going to see play early while people are trying this mech thing. The problem with Mech Hunter, as I've emphasized, in my view, is that there is just not enough support for all this stuff. Spider Bomb is excellent, but it requires mechs, and the rest of the mechs are bad. And that is, in short, why Spider Bomb is getting 2 stars. One can make the argument, is this card bad without mechs? And that's fair. It is pretty bad without mechs, even in the Play Dead Terror Skill Stalker deck, because yeah, you could play this at 3 mana, but none of them really played Deadly Shot, and you would have to combo this with exactly Play Dead or with Terror Skill Stalker. That's a little bit pricey, and it's a slow Deadly Shot. So I'm not really quite seeing it. The big killing blow for this card is just that there's so few good targets to magnetize Spider Bomb onto. Necro Mechanic, 1 star. Necro Mechanic is a bit interesting. It could, in theory, see play in some sort of Recruit Hunter, or in some Death Rattle Hunter. There's some pretty good Death Rattles that you would love to trigger twice, but it just costs so much. And it does work with Boommaster Flark as well, in order to do a mega amount of damage, but this is just way too slow. It seems like you have to high roll it out of Flark's Boomzooka, which is very unlikely. You have to play it while you're ahead on board, in which case I think there are better cards that you can get even further ahead on board. Or you have to play it while you have a bunch of Goblin Bombs on the board and then activate them all. But I see the world where you have a bunch of Goblin Bombs on the world as a world where you are running a truly terrible deck. Boommaster Flark, 1 star. The Boommaster Flark does combine with Necro Mechanic in order to potentially deal 16 damage. Wow, that sounds like a lot, right? You know what also deals almost as much damage with way less work? 2 skill commands, and then you toss in your hero power. That'll cost 8 mana. That's 12. And you know what you can't really run when you're playing Mech Hunter? Probably Kill Command. Even by itself, it's summoning 13 worth of stats. But here's the thing, Goblin Bombs, 0-2s, they can't just be added to the stat value of a card because you have to work so hard to actually activate them as well. And certainly with Boommaster Flark, all your magnetized cards are going to find targets. But here's the problem, if they actually just clear your Goblin Bombs, which, maybe they will, it's still not even that good. Finally for Hunter, we have Flark's Boomzooka, 1 star. Could do incredible things. If it pulls your Silver Vanguard and pulls your Katharina, and then the dream is you also pull Necro Mechanic, you could then pull off your 2 Double Swords and the Lich King. But the problem is with Flark's Bazooka, you could also just pull those guys, or you could pull off the support cards in the deck, such as Firefly and Keleseth. It's just way too much variance. Doesn't seem like it's going to be workable. And even in your Death Rattle decks, it could easily pull your Death Rattle enablers, and they attack enemy minions at random, which could end up pretty bad as well. Hunter clearly wanted to get Mech Hunter pushed, and there were a lot of cards printed for Mech Hunter. If Mech Hunter is good, a lot of these ratings are going to be wrong. But I see all these mechs as low stats or high mana cost, and when they are statted, they are low attack, high health, which Hunter does not like. It looks like there's no easy way, at the very least, to make a competitive Hunter deck. And believe me, I looked at dozens, I guess, maybe around a dozen, Mech Hunter builds. Some with Goblin Bomb, some without. A variety of Mech Hunter decks. It seems like the mid-range Hunters, or the Death Rattle Hunters, or the Secret Hunters, the Spell Hunters, just do it better. They'll overall be able to put on a greater amount of threat and or damage. So this idea that the Mech Hunter is really sticky, that there's always targets to magnetize, I feel like this is a trap because most of the magnetized cards aren't very aggressive, and Hunter wants to be aggressive. And you might want to make the argument, wait, but what if Hunter wants to be defensive? Well, that's a very interesting argument. It's not going to work.